Nearly a million people were evacuated from their homes in the Philippines as the country braced for another powerful storm days after the typhoon killed more than 20 people. The storm named Fung Wong began on the ridge in the northeastern Philippines on a Sunday, even before it's expected to make landfall, knocking out power and prompted the meteorological service to declare a high-risk of life-threatening conditions in some areas of the country. The Philippines is bracing for the second major typhoon in 2 weeks. Experts predict that Super Typhoon Fung Wong will reach for the archipelago late Sunday or nearly Monday, bringing winds of 185 km per hour. Super Typhoon Fung Wong, the largest storm in the threatening the Philippines this year, began battering the country's northeast coast before making landfall on Sunday. Power outage for forcing to evacuate nearly a million people. Philippines Defense Minister Gilberto Teodoro Jr. issued warning to make people in affected areas, urging them to evacuate dangerous village before it was too late. Fung Wong, which could cover 2/3 in the southeastern Asian archipelago, nation of more than 6,500 islands for rain, it winds 1,600 kilometers, is approaching for the Pacific Ocean. While the Philippines is still reeling from the destruction caused by the typhoon Kalmegi, which struck last week. On Tuesday, Kalmegi claimed the lives at least 224 people in central provinces of the island, then hit Vietnam, where was at least 5 more than people died. This storm was the strongest event record in Asia this year. Fung Wong, with the winds up to 185 km per hour of gusts up to 213 km per hour, was detected a government forecast before noon on Sunday local time over coastal waves near the town of Pandon in the eastern province Catanzons. The area is already experiencing heavy rain and thick fog that limit visibility, ever before the typhoon make landfall. Even predict that Fung Wong will come northwest to make landfall the coast of Aurora or Isabela provinces late Sunday to early Monday. Tropical cyclone will sustain at the speed of 185 km per hour on a car, or classified as a super typhoon in the Philippines and destination, adapted many years to emphasize the urgency isolated the more extreme weather events. As Fung Wong approached with wide branch to strong winds of rain, several eastern cities to villages were left without power. Authority in northern province that will be hit to affected on Fung Wong previously announced the clear shooting school to most government officials on Monday and Tuesday. Late this monsoon, rain have triggered widespread flooding across the Philippines, dispatched thousands of submerged entire neighborhoods underwater. It what officials are calling one of the most intense weather events in the year. Multiple provinces, including Metro, Manila, Pampanga, Bulacan, and other parts of the Philippines, have been inundated after the days of continuous rainfall. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geological, and Atmospheric Severe Administration reported that over 300 mm of rain fell in just 28 hours, more than half of a typical monthly average. The downpour intensified by southwestern monsoon and further enhanced tropical storm Angong caused rivers to overflow and drainage system to fail. In Quezon City, waist deep floodwaters turned major floods into rivers, paralyzed transport and prompted authorities to suspend classes to work in government officials. In Balkan, over 20,000 people were evacuated from the flood-prone breaklands on the Angan River's breaching the banks. The National Disaster Risk Reduction of Management Council confirmed at least 5 fatalities, with several other injured or missing. The Philippines is stricken with the severe flooding caused in increasing rain, a national disaster that is agriculture country and the facing of increasing frequency and intensity. The torrential downpour exacerbated by the unusual monsoon season and tropical storm had led to widespread flooding in many provinces. Thousands of families were forced to their homes and seek shelter to evacuation centers and key infrastructure including roads, bridges, schools and several damaged. The hardest hit region are the high alert at the Luzon, where floodwaters have inundated entire communities. Rescue operations are ongoing, but the scale of the destruction has stretched to local authority to the limit. The country's National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council that issue a warning and advised residents in low-lying and coastal area to remain vigilant. Evacuation were carried out in many regions before the water reached the peak up, and many people remain trapped. Flood levels of those faster of expected. The floods have disrupted power supply, damaged across groups and parts of country without access to clean up water in a rural area. Rice paddies, the farmland crucial in a country's agriculture production, have been flooded and raising concerns about the flood security in the coming month. Rescue teams and infotainable boats have been working around the clock, navigating narrow streets and rescue stranded residents, including the elderly and the children. Infrastructure damaged widespread landslides and Bunigate. Provinces blocking key highways were prompting to North Luzon Expressway were temporarily impossible. Power outage affected more than 16 households, and water supply were cut off in low-lying communities due to contamination concerns. President Ferdinand Macron has called to immediate national response, mobilized military and emergency service are pledging government assistance to displaced families. Local officials warned with a saturated soil and a more rain expected to risk additional floods and landslides remaining high. Climate scientists are again raising alarm that is warning ocean temperatures in the Pacific influence stronger to more than erratic monsoon system. As the Philippines recover at least disaster underscoring the growing vulnerability of island ocean to extreme weather and changing climate. The Philippines is stricken with severe flooding caused by increasing rains, a natural disaster that is agriculture country at the facing of increasing frequency and intensity. The torrential downpour, exacerbated by unusual monsoon season and tropical storm, have led to widespread flooding in many places. Thousands of families were forced to their homes and seek shelters in the evacuation centers, and the key infrastructure, including roads, bridges, and schools, were severely damaged. The hardest hit region are on the island of Luzon, where floodwaters have inundated entire communities. Rescue operations are ongoing, but the scale of the destruction has scheduled local authority to the limit. The country's National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has issued a warning, advised residents in low-lying coastal areas to remain vigilant. Evacuations were carried out in many regions before the water reached a peak, but many people remain trapped. The flood level rose faster than expected. The flood have disrupted power supplies, damaged crops, and left parts of the country without cases clean water. In rural area, rice paddies, a farmland circulated on country's agriculture production, have been flooded. The farmers in the storm are catastrophic, said agriculture's lecturer Francisca Laurel Jur. We have provided immediate assessment to support for recovery. Meteorologist of Pagasa said Typhoon Kalmagi quickly gained strength over the Philippines Sea due to warm ocean waters and a phenomenon increasingly linked to climate change. Storm Lake Tino are becoming stronger to weather, said Pagasa forecast Ana Santos. President Fernando Marcos Jr. called to calm and resilience, providing swift assistance to the affected province. Our priority is to save lives and restore essential service, he said to the television address. As the storm moved over to southern China Sea, forecast warned to continue heavy rain in the western Luzon and possible new flooding. For millions of people in the Philippines, recovery Kalmagi is just beginning. In Bohol province, one man was killed by fallen trees. An emergency service representative Danila Atetu said by elderly person held down in the Leyte province. State Meteorological Service specialist Shermaine Warlia said the threat of fire. More storms could be expected by the end of December. Scientists warned that the storms are becoming more frequent due to climate change caused by the human activity. The Philippines is in a shock after Typhoon Kalmagi, known locally as Tino, swept through the northern central region, bringing destructive wind, torrential rain, and widespread flooding. The powerful storm made landfall on a Tuesday night near Aurora province, accompanied by sustained winds of up to 113 km/h and gusts of winds to 116 km/h, and then swept westward across Luzon. In coastal town, houses built on a light material was destroyed, power lines were downed, and roads were submerged. In the city such as capital Manila, traffic comes to standstill and businesses are closed as the people stretch to supplies on the flooded. Meteorologists point to climate change as an important factor in infrastructure in these weather events. The Philippines, located in Pacific typhoon belt, faces frequent tropical storm, but experts say rising global temperature are making these storms more intense and destructive. In the recent years, typhoon brought unexpected mountain in rainfall that is increasing the risk of flooding. The government, meanwhile, has been working to mitigate the effect by dispatching emergency service and engaging in military rescue operations to coordination with the emergency humanitarian organization. However, long-term solutions remain challenges. They need better flood protection, improved urban planning, and climate change resilience may issue more urgent to note there. Raising concerns about the flood security in the coming month. In the city such as capital Manila, traffic has come to standstill and businesses are closed as people struggle to survive the flooding. Meteorologists point to climate change as the important factor of anticipation of these weather events. The Philippines, located in the Pacific typhoon belt, faces frequent tropical storm, but the experts say rising global temperatures are making these storms more intense and destructive. In the recent year, typhoon brought unexpected amounts of the rainwater, which has increased the risk of flooding. The government, meanwhile, has been working to mitigate the effects by disrupted emergency service engine to military in rescue operations and coordinated with the International Humanitarian Organization. However, long-term situation remains a challenge. To need the better flood protection, improve urban planning and climate change resilience may issue is more urgent than ever, as the country is still recovering from the previous natural disaster. The community's cycle of recovery reconstruction, the putting on the strain of recovery and the local communities. For millions of Filipinos, it is not a question of, but when expect devastation flood is occur. The wind sounded like a foreign train. Everything was shaking, said Mariela de la Cruz, and the residents of Cabantron. We spent the night paralyzing. The roofs wouldn't blow off. According to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, more than 18,000 people were forced to leave their homes. Entire villages in low-lying area and Pangasinan and Isabela remain flooded, for several rivers have burst their banks, cutting off access to remain continuous. Authorities have confirmed 6 deaths, mostly due to landslides and flash floods, and dozens of people remain missing. Rescue teams, supported by the military, are urging inflatable boats to reach residents to remain trapped. Schools and government forced to Central Luzon are closed due to flights from the Italy. Aqua International Airport in Manila have been suspended due to dangerous crosswinds. The Department of Agriculture estimated significant crops damage of rice and cornfields and flooded weeks before harvest. Philippines is once again facing the devastation impact of extreme weather as a torrential monsoon rain worsened to tropical storm Anglo triggered catastrophic flooding across alleged areas of Luzon and Visa. Over 75,000 people have been displaced with thousands of trapped submerged homes as rivers burst their banks and the urban drainage system collapsed under the pressure. In Metro Manila, relentless rain over the past 5 days turned avenues like Hispania Boulevard of insane to rivers. Schools, government officials and financial institutions were forced to suspended operations. At least 13 cities decided states and calamity. Inducting Manila, San Metro and Motors were left without 1.5 meters in some neighborhoods. According to Pagasa, the rainfall total in parts of central Luzon reached over 400 mm, while wild gusts and going in 75 km an hour in coastal areas. Climate experts warn warning for the future temperatures in West Pacific and the English. Opong in 15th tropical cyclone in Philippines in 2025 brought moderate and heavy rain and strong winds to many areas in Luzon and Visayas. It made landfall 6 times, first in Typhoon East Salma late on Tuesday, September 25, that is severe tropical storm twice Most Bay, twice Romblon, and once in the eastern Midro on Friday, September 26. The southwestern monsoon to habit is also affecting several provinces to western side of the country. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geological, and Astronomical Service Administration was warning the public of danger, including flooding, landslides, and storm surge. According to the Disaster Management Agency and provincial offices, the storm knocked down power lines and the central eastern provinces' tropical trees and power plant, caused flooding and minor landslide to fallen roofs and houses and grandstands. 2 villages were killed, the fallen trees and collapsing central wall, the cathedral in San Bernardo, Rafael Alexander IV, and the Civil Defense Office. He said 7 villagers died mainly due to flash floods and at least 13 others are missing, mostly fishermen who went out the sea before the storm hit. Residents sought refuge on the rooftops and cars floated through the flooded streets as the typhoon Kalmarki battered the central Philippines, killed at least 2 people. Hundreds of thousands of people were forced to leave their homes due to the powerful storm which made landfall shortly before midnight on Monday. The 20th tropical cyclone to hit the Philippines this year was moving westward to 25 km an hour that Tuesday and was forecast to begin moving away from the western parts of the archipelago toward the southern China Sea by Wednesday morning. People on rooftops are asking for help. Ron Romas, spokesman for Kuba Island, told AFP by telephone, adding that the evacuation centers have been flooded. Hundreds of people still living in tense homes after 6.9 magnitude earthquake struck in the island in late September were forcibly evacuated in their own safety, he said. Rafael Alejandro, deputy administrator of the Civil Defense Office, told a local radio that 347,000 people have been evacuated for the typhoon path.